Ma'am, stop resisting and get on the ground.
Officer, I'm a federal attorney. You're making a serious mistake. I don't care who you think
you are. Get on the ground.
My hands are empty. I'm not a threat, and your camera is recording this.
Get on the ground now.
What are you doing? Let go! Let go!
The security cameras mounted above the shopping center were recording everything. So was the body cam strapped to Officer Ryan Mitchell's chest. And not a single lens could have captured what was actually happening here. A seasoned police officer was about to arrest a federal attorney for the crime of being black in a parking lot. Nicole Harper wasn't just any lawyer. She was a civil rights prosecutor with the U.S. Department of Justice. For 4 years, she had built cases against officers who violated constitutional rights. She had memorized Fourth Amendment precedents. She had cross-examined police chiefs about unlawful detention. She had sent corrupt cops to prison. And in the next 8 minutes, she was going to become the defendant in her own case study, one that would cost the city nearly $1 million and tear open a department's ugly history of racial profiling. Before we get into what happens next, I need you to do something. Drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from, your country, your city, wherever you are in the world. And if you think a badge doesn't give you the right to ignore the Constitution, smash that subscribe button, because this story is about to get absolutely wild. Chapter 1. After work on a Tuesday. Nicole Harper closed the last file folder on her desk and rubbed her tired eyes. It had been a long Tuesday at the Department of Justice. She was 29 years old, and for the past 4 years, she had been working as a federal attorney in the Civil Rights Division. Her job was serious and important. She built cases against police officers who broke the law. She prosecuted cops who violated people's constitutional rights. She had graduated from Howard University School of Law, and she was good at what she did. Today had been like most Tuesdays. She spent hours reading case files about police misconduct. She reviewed reports about unlawful arrests. She studied Fourth Amendment violations. This was her daily work, and she took it seriously. Every case mattered. Every violation needed to be addressed. Now, at 4:30 in the afternoon, Nicole was done for the day. She grabbed her bag, locked her office, and headed out. She had a few errands to run before going home. First stop was the shopping center near her apartment. She needed groceries for the week and wanted to pick up her gym clothes from the dry cleaners. The parking lot was busy when she arrived. Cars were coming and going. People were pushing shopping carts. Families were loading bags into their vehicles. It was a normal Tuesday afternoon scene. Nothing unusual, nothing special. Just regular people doing regular things. Nicole found a parking spot and went inside. 20 minutes later, she came back out carrying 2 grocery bags and a box of work files she needed to review at home. The box had DOJ labels on the side. She popped open her trunk and started loading everything in. Groceries went on one side. The work box went in the middle. Her gym bag from the dry cleaners went on the other side. She was just a professional woman finishing her errands. She had done this same routine 100 times before. Park the car. Run her errands. Load everything up. Drive home. Make dinner. Review case files. Go to bed. Wake up and do it all again. Nicole adjusted the grocery bag so the eggs wouldn't break. She moved the work box so it wouldn't slide around. She was thinking about what to make for dinner. Maybe pasta. Maybe a salad. She hadn't decided yet. The sun was still bright in the sky. The parking lot was full of people. Everything felt completely normal and safe. She had no idea that the next 10 minutes would change everything. Have you ever felt completely safe doing something normal, only to have that safety shattered in an instant? No call, no complaint, just assumptions. Officer Ryan Mitchell was on routine patrol that Tuesday afternoon. His police radio was quiet. No dispatch calls, no emergency reports, no complaints coming in. It was a slow day, the kind where officers just drive around and watch for problems. Mitchell was 36 years old. He had been a police officer for 6 years. During those 6 years, he had received 14 civilian complaints. People had reported him for being too aggressive. They said he was rude. They said he targeted certain people unfairly. But every single one of those 14 complaints had been dismissed. His supervisors never took action. They never disciplined him. They just filed the complaints away and forgot about them. 11 of those 14 complaints came from people of color. As Mitchell drove through the shopping center parking lot, he saw Nicole loading her car. He slowed down and watched her. A young black woman. A nice car. An expensive shopping center. An area where mostly white people lived and shopped. Something about it felt wrong to him. She didn't fit, he thought. She was loading things too quickly. She kept looking around. She seemed nervous. None of this was true, but Mitchell had already made up his mind. He pulled his patrol car into a nearby spot and got out. His hand moved to rest near his weapon. Not on it, but close. Ready. Just in case. Nicole was bent over her trunk, rearranging the grocery bags when she heard the voice behind her. "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle." She turned around, surprised. Her hands were still full of grocery bags. She saw the police officer walking toward her with a serious look on his face. "Excuse me?" she said, confused. "I said step away from the vehicle," Mitchell repeated. His voice was firm. His eyes were hard. Nicole looked down at the bags in her hands, then back at the officer. "This is my car," she said. "I'm just loading my things." Her voice was calm, but inside her mind was racing. Why was he stopping her? What had she done? She was literally just putting groceries in her own car. She hadn't broken any laws. She hadn't done anything wrong. The ordinary world she had been living in just seconds ago, the safe, normal world where you could run errands without fear, shattered in an instant. Officer Mitchell stepped closer. His hand was still near his weapon. His face showed no kindness, no understanding, no willingness to listen. And Nicole Harper, federal attorney for the U.S. Department of Justice, felt her heart start to beat faster. Would you stay calm if an officer approached you like this for no reason? Federal attorney meets unchecked authority. Nicole set the grocery bags down carefully in her trunk. She turned to face Officer Mitchell fully, keeping her hands visible. Her legal training kicked in immediately. Stay calm. Don't make sudden movements. Be clear and direct. "Officer, I'm a federal attorney with the Department of Justice," she said clearly. "There seems to be some kind of misunderstanding." She reached slowly into her blazer pocket and pulled out her credentials. Her DOJ identification card, her federal badge. The official seal of the United States Department of Justice was right there in his hands. Mitchell took the credentials and looked at them. He flipped the ID card over. He studied the badge. His expression didn't change. "Anyone can print a fake ID," he said, handing them back to her. Nicole felt a shock of disbelief run through her. "What?" she said. "These are real federal credentials. You can see the seal. You can see the holographic security features." "Ma'am, I've seen all kinds of fake IDs," Mitchell said. "This doesn't prove anything." Nicole took a deep breath. "Stay calm," she told herself. "Document everything. Officer, I can call my supervisor right now. He's still at the office. He can verify my identity in 30 seconds. "You're stalling," Mitchell said. "That's what people do when they're hiding something. You're trying to give yourself time to think up a story." This is actually happening, Nicole thought. This is a Fourth Amendment violation happening in real time. She was being detained without reasonable suspicion. She was being accused without evidence. Everything she had studied in law school, everything she prosecuted in her daily work was happening to her right now. She kept her voice level and professional. "Officer, what reasonable suspicion do you have that I'm engaged in criminal activity?" Mitchell's jaw tightened. "I don't have to explain myself to you." "Actually, you do," Nicole said calmly. "The Fourth Amendment requires you to have reasonable suspicion before you can detain someone. Loading groceries into my own car is not a crime. Are you trying to tell me how to do my job?" Mitchell's voice had an edge now. "I'm asking you to follow the law," Nicole replied. The power dynamic was crystal clear now. Nicole had legal authority. She had federal credentials. She had detailed knowledge of constitutional rights. But none of that mattered to Officer Mitchell. He had a badge and a gun. He had decided she was suspicious, and he wasn't going to back down. Other shoppers were starting to notice the confrontation. People slowed down as they walked past. A few stopped to watch. Nicole realized with growing concern that this wasn't going to end well. How would you feel if your credentials were dismissed as fake? Every proof he ignores, Nicole decided to try a different approach. Maybe if she showed him more proof, he would realize his mistake and let her go. "Officer, let me show you that this is my vehicle," she said. She reached into her purse and pulled out her driver's license. Look, my license matches the car registration exactly. Mitchell glanced at the license but said nothing. Nicole pulled out her key fob. Watch, she said. She pressed the lock button. The car's lights flashed. The locks clicked loudly. She pressed the unlock button. The lights flashed again. The locks popped open. See? I have the key. This is my car. That doesn't prove anything, Mitchell said. You could have stolen the keys. Nicole felt her frustration building, but she kept her voice steady. She opened the back door and pointed items inside. Look at this gym bag. It has my name on the tag, N. Harper. These work files have DOJ labels with my name on them. She walked to the driver's side and opened the glove compartment. Here's the registration. Here's the insurance card. Here's the owner's manual. Everything has my name. Everything matches my license. Mitchell crossed his arms. That doesn't prove anything. By now, more shoppers had noticed what was happening. A small crowd was forming at a distance. Nicole saw a white woman about 3 parking spaces away loading groceries into her car. The woman was doing the exact same thing Nicole had been doing. Officer Mitchell didn't even look at her. Nicole felt the absurdity of the situation pressing down on her. She had shown him everything possible. She had proven ownership in every way she could think of. But none of it mattered. Officer, I've demonstrated that this vehicle belongs to me, she said firmly. Am I free to go? No, Mitchell said. You're being uncooperative. That gives me reasonable suspicion to continue this investigation. Nicole almost laughed. The irony was unbelievable. Asserting my rights isn't evidence of a crime, she said. The Supreme Court has made that clear in multiple cases. We'll see about that, Mitchell replied. The contrast between them was striking. Nicole stood there in her professional blazer, calm and composed, speaking in measured legal terms. Mitchell stood with his arms crossed, his face red, his jaw clenched, getting more aggressive by the minute. People were definitely watching now. Nicole could see phones coming out. Some people were recording. Good, she thought. Let them record this. Let them see what's happening. But she also knew that witnesses didn't always prevent bad outcomes. Sometimes they just documented them. At what point should the officer have apologized and left? When legal knowledge becomes evidence. Officer Mitchell's next words made Nicole's blood run cold. I'm going to need to search your vehicle, he said. I have reasonable suspicion that you may be carrying contraband or stolen property. No, Nicole said clearly. You have no probable cause. You can't search my vehicle without a warrant or my consent, and I do not consent. Mitchell's face got redder. You seem to know a lot about the law for someone who's innocent. Nicole stared at him in disbelief. Was he seriously using her legal knowledge as evidence against her? I know about the law because I'm a federal attorney, she said. I prosecute cases like this. The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable searches. Terry v. Ohio established that you need specific facts to support reasonable suspicion. Arizona v. Johnson clarified the standards for vehicle searches. You have none of those facts. With each legal case she cited, Mitchell seemed to get angrier. His hands clenched into fists. His shoulders tensed up. Where'd you learn all that? He demanded. YouTube? Law and Order? Howard University School of Law, Nicole answered, and 4 years prosecuting cases exactly like this one at the Department of Justice. By now, at least 5 people were recording on their phones. An older black man walked over, concern on his face. Officer, I know her, the man said. She works for the federal government. She's telling you the truth. Mitchell whirled around. Sir, move along, or I'll arrest you for interfering with a police investigation. The man held up his hands and stepped back, but he didn't leave. He stayed there, watching, his phone out and recording. Nicole realized what was happening. Officer Mitchell had made a decision about her the moment he saw her. Young black woman, nice car, expensive shopping area. She didn't belong, in his mind. And now he was trapped. He had stopped her in front of witnesses. He had escalated the situation. If he backed down now, he would look wrong. He would look like he had made a mistake. His ego wouldn't let him do that. Officer, I do not consent to any search, Nicole said one more time, loud enough for the recording phones to hear. I have the right to refuse. That right is protected by the Constitution. We'll see about your rights, Mitchell said. The irony was crushing. Nicole spent her entire career protecting people's constitutional rights. She had written legal briefs defending the Fourth Amendment. She had put police officers in jail for doing exactly what Mitchell was doing right now. And none of it could protect her. Should knowing your rights be considered suspicious? The arrest that never should have happened. Nicole stood her ground. Her heart was pounding, but her voice stayed calm. "Officer, I do not consent to any search. Am I free to go?" Mitchell stared at her for a long moment. The parking lot seemed to go quiet. The crowd watching them had grown to about 20 people. Multiple phones were pointed at them. The afternoon sun beat down. Then Mitchell grabbed her arm. "Turn around," he said. "You're under arrest." Nicole didn't pull away. She didn't fight. She knew how dangerous that could be. But she spoke clearly, making sure every recording device could hear her. "I am not resisting," she said. "I am a federal attorney with the Department of Justice. You are violating my Fourth Amendment rights. You have no probable cause. This is unlawful arrest. Everything is being recorded." "You're under arrest for obstruction of justice," Mitchell said. He pulled her hands behind her back. The cold metal handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Nicole heard gasps from the crowd. Someone said, "This is wrong." Another voice said, "She didn't do anything." She felt the handcuffs tighten. She felt Mitchell's hand on her shoulder, guiding her toward his patrol car. She kept her head up. She kept her face calm. But inside, she was screaming. This was humiliation. This was violation. This was everything she had fought against in her career, happening to her body in public in front of strangers. Mitchell opened the back door of his patrol car and put his hand on her head, pushing her down into the seat. The plastic seat was hard. The car smelled like old coffee and cleaning chemicals. The space was tiny, cramped. The doors had no inside handles. She was trapped. Through the window, she could see people recording. She could see the shock on their faces. She could see her own car, trunk still open, groceries probably getting warm in the sun. Mitchell got in the front seat and started driving. He didn't say a word. Neither did Nicole. The ride to the police station took 18 minutes. Every minute felt like an hour. Nicole's mind was working even though her body was trapped. She was already building her case. She was already thinking about the lawsuit. She was already listing the violations: unlawful detention, unlawful search attempt, unlawful arrest, false imprisonment. But she was also thinking about all the people she had represented, all the victims who had come to her office with stories just like this, people who had been arrested for nothing, people who had been handcuffed for being in the wrong place with the wrong skin color. She had read their stories. She had felt sympathy for them. She had fought for them. But she had never truly understood what it felt like. Now, she was one of them. What would go through your mind if this was happening to you? When the system realizes its mistake. The patrol car pulled into the police station parking lot at 4:47 p.m. Mitchell walked Nicole inside, still handcuffed. The booking officer, Marcus Webb, looked up from his desk. Webb was a 12-year veteran who had processed thousands of arrests. This looked like just another one. "What have we got?" Webb asked. "Obstruction of justice," Mitchell said. Webb started the standard process. "Empty your pockets, please. Put everything on the desk." Nicole couldn't empty her pockets because her hands were cuffed behind her back. Webb uncuffed one hand so she could remove items: her phone, her keys, her wallet. Webb opened the wallet to catalog its contents. He pulled out her driver's license first. Then he saw the other cards. His hand stopped. His expression changed completely. He pulled out Nicole's Department of Justice identification card, then her federal badge, then her business cards that said Nicole Harper, attorney, U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division. "Sarge," Webb said quietly, "we have a problem." The desk sergeant came over. He looked at the credentials. His eyes went wide. "Get the watch commander, now." Within minutes, Watch Commander Patricia Sanchez was in the booking area. She examined every credential carefully. She pulled up the Bodycam footage on a computer and started watching. Her face went pale. "Call the chief," she said. "Call him right now." An emergency call went to the chief of police at his home. Meanwhile, someone had called Nicole's office. Her supervisor, senior attorney James Chen, arrived at the station at 5:32 p.m. He brought the department's attorney with him. Chen was furious but professional. "Where is she?" he demanded. They brought Nicole out. She still had one handcuff on. Her blazer was wrinkled, her hair was messy, but her eyes were clear and angry. The chief of police arrived and reviewed everything: the credentials, the body cam footage, the witness statements that were already coming in. At 9:04 p.m., after 4 hours and 17 minutes of detention, Nicole was released. The chief personally apologized. "Miss Harper, this should never have happened. We're deeply sorry." Nicole looked at him with calm, measured anger. "This apology doesn't undo what happened," she said. "I will be filing a federal lawsuit, and I will be requesting a full investigation into this department's practices." She took her credentials back. She took her belongings. She walked out of the station with her head high. But when she got to her car, which someone had brought from the shopping center, her hands were shaking so badly she could barely get the key in the door. Is an apology enough when someone's rights are violated? The investigation that exposed everything. Wednesday morning, Nicole sat at her desk and wrote. She wrote for 3 hours straight. When she finished, she had a 28-page federal lawsuit. It listed every violation: unlawful detention, false arrest, Fourth Amendment violations, 14th Amendment violations, municipal liability for failing to train and supervise officers properly. She attached the body cam footage. She attached the witness videos that people had sent to her. She attached expert analysis on racial profiling. She attached her impeccable credentials. The Department of Justice released a statement supporting their employee. By Thursday evening, the story hit national news. Federal attorney arrested, loading her own car. The body cam footage went viral. 6 million views in 72 hours. 28 million views within 2 weeks. Comment sections exploded. People shared their own stories. Civil rights organizations demanded action. The FBI Civil Rights Division opened an investigation. What they found was damning. Officer Ryan Mitchell had 14 civilian complaints in 6 years. 11 of those 14 complaints came from people of color. Every single complaint had been dismissed without investigation. Nobody had looked at the pattern. Nobody had connected the dots. They analyzed Mitchell's stop data. He stopped black motorists at a rate 3.8 times higher than white motorists. His search rates were even worse, 5.1 times higher for black drivers. But his contraband recovery rate was lower than the department average. He was searching more people and finding less evidence. Department emails revealed that supervisors knew about Mitchell's aggressive approach. One supervisor had written, "Mitchell generates complaints but makes a lot of stops." Another email said, "We should probably keep an eye on him." But nobody did. The FBI investigation expanded to the whole department. They found systemic problems. Black residents were stopped at much higher rates than white residents in the same neighborhoods. Search rates for minorities were more than 4 times higher, but the contraband recovery rate was lower. The pattern was clear. Officers were targeting people based on race, not evidence. 5 weeks after the incident, Officer Ryan Mitchell was terminated. 2 supervisors were demoted for failing to address his complaint pattern. The police union reviewed the body cam footage and declined to appeal. "The video is too clear," the union representative said. "There's no defense." Mitchell would never work in law enforcement again. But the investigation revealed something even more important. This wasn't just about one bad officer. It was about a system that enabled him. A system that ignored complaints. A system that didn't track racial disparities. A system that protected officers instead of citizens. How many other officers have similar patterns that nobody's checking? The settlement and the mission. 10 months after that Tuesday afternoon in the parking lot, Nicole's case settled for $950,000. The department admitted no wrongdoing. That was standard legal language, but they agreed to implement reforms. Nicole made her decision immediately. She would use every penny of the settlement money to establish the Harper Legal Defense Clinic. The clinic opened 6 months later. It provided free legal representation for victims of police misconduct. Volunteer attorneys worked alongside law students and civil rights experts. They took on cases that other lawyers wouldn't touch. Cases where people had been arrested for walking while black, for driving while brown, for existing in spaces where someone decided they didn't belong. In the first year, the Harper Clinic represented 47 clients. They won 31 cases. They settled 12 others. They changed lives. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice put Nicole's case to work. They used the body cam footage as required training in federal law enforcement academies nationwide. Officers watched Nicole get arrested. They watched Mitchell ignore her credentials. They watched him escalate instead of de-escalate. They learned what not to do. The city's police department entered a consent decree with the DOJ. Reforms were mandatory and comprehensive. 60 hours of bias training every year. Early warning systems to catch officers with complaint patterns before they caused harm. An independent civilian review board with real power. Body cameras for everyone, with footage automatically saved. Federal monitoring for 5 years. Nicole continued her work at the Department of Justice. Her colleagues said the experience changed her. She prosecutes these cases differently now, one coworker said. She knows what it feels like. Officer Ryan Mitchell left the state. He worked briefly in private security but couldn't keep the job. Eventually, he left law enforcement entirely. A reporter found him and asked one question. What suspicious behavior did Miss Harper display that day? Mitchell had no answer. He ended the interview. Nicole gave one statement to the press. She stood outside the Harper Clinic on opening day and spoke clearly. I had every advantage, she said. Federal credentials, legal expertise, resources, support, and I was still handcuffed for loading groceries into my own car. If this can happen to me, imagine what happens to people without those advantages. That's why the Harper Clinic exists. That's why we fight for accountability. That's why this work never, ever stops. Inside the clinic, a young man waited. He had been wrongfully stopped 3 times in 6 months. He had no money for a lawyer. He had almost given up hope. Nicole sat down across from him. She opened her notebook, and she got to work. The body cam footage remained online, a permanent record. Millions had watched it. Millions more would watch it in the future. It was proof that accountability could happen, that consequences could follow violations, that the system sometimes could work. But it was also a reminder. Accountability happened here because Nicole had credentials, knowledge, documentation, and resources. Most people don't have those advantages. That's why the conversation has to continue. That's why your voice matters. Do you think $950,000 was enough? What does real accountability look like? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this story opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to see it.